Hi, I'm Monica Shah of Revenue Breakthrough, and this is the Money Healing Series. Now, just to give you a little bit of background around the Money Healing Series, one of the things that I do at Revenue Breakthrough is I have two sides of what I work on. I work on spiritual beliefs and clearing those. I'm a healer and a psychic, and I also help you build strategy around money and marketing and sales in your business. Now, this video series is all about the healing and the clearing and the mindset. And today we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is the stories that we tell ourselves. I went out to breakfast the other morning with a great friend of mine, and he was telling me a story about him and his wife. And he said, Monica, one of the things I struggle with my wife is that I'm this visionary verbal processor. So I love to see the big picture and tell her about that big picture, that big vision that I see. And she, every time I tell her about that big picture, that big vision that I see, she gets really overwhelmed and scared and doesn't want to hear about it. And I said, well, give me an example. And he said, okay, so the other day we just bought this new house and we went up to the attic, and the attic was a mess and there were boxes everywhere and everything was super unorganized. And I looked at it and I looked around and I saw this beautiful attic space, and I said out loud, he said out loud, I really can see this space. Like, I could see it coming alive. I could see shelves, I could see crates and containers and labels where everything would be organized, and we could really use it as a place to keep stuff and find stuff. And in fact, I could even set up a workshop over there so that I could use the space to do my thing. And his wife looked at him and was like, absolutely not. I don't have time for that. I can't put that on my plate. I can't even believe you would bring that up. Not now. And he said, I just felt devastated in that moment because I didn't even want her to do it. I just wanted to talk about it, and she just got so upset. And I said, well, are there other circumstances that this happens? And he said, yeah, sometimes I get really excited about a vacation. Like, sometimes I'll be online and I'll be reading about like Mexico or a great place in Europe. And I want to come home and I'll say, we should go on vacation. We should go to this European destination. We should do this and this and this there. And it's going to be so exciting and fun. And she'll be like, no, I don't have time for that. I can't think about that right now. It's not happening. And he's like, again, I feel really deflated. And I said, okay. He said, I don't understand. He's like, I guess I just feel like that's her personality and that's my personality, and we just don't get along. And I said, well, at least in that respect, in that certain dimension. And I said, well, it's not that you don't get along on that dimension or in that respect. It's how you're communicating things to her. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, what's happening is that she's running a story. And when you say this is what has to happen in the attic, her story that she's running is, he's telling me that I have to clean the attic, that I have to organize the attic, that I have to put everything away. And I've already got 17 things on my plate. I can't believe that my husband, the person that I'm dependent on, that is supposed to be my partner, doesn't even see how much I already have on my plate, and he's making me do more. And his jaw kind of dropped. He's like, but that's not what I'm doing. I didn't mean that she had to do it right away. And I said, I know, but she doesn't know that, right? The story that she's running is, I have to do everything. I have to do everything now. Everything gets dumped on my plate. There's too much to do. And I looked at him and I said, was she the oldest in her family? And his jaw dropped again. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, she was. And I said, well, most likely in her family, that's how the communication went. When things needed to get done, it got dropped on her plate, and she wasn't asked, and it wasn't something that she intentionally wanted. So now she feels like she's reliving that every time you bring something up. And the story that you're running is that you want to be heard, right? You want to be able to share all these ideas, and it doesn't even matter to you whether she does them or whether you do them with somebody else. What matters is that you can be heard and that you can share and that you can express all these ideas and these visions that are coming up for you. And he's like, yeah, that's absolutely it. And so what's interesting is that I said, well, okay, the way that you can shift this is that you have to understand her story and she has to understand yours. And you can just communicate differently. So instead of saying, hey, here's what needs to happen in the attic, you can preface it to say, I don't actually need you to do any of this that I'm about to say, and I don't want this to fall on your plate, and you don't even have to be involved in it, but this is what I see for the attic. Or if you're thinking about vacation, you could say, hey, I'm going to plan all of this and I'm going to figure it out, but I want you to know that I'm really excited about our next vacation and here's what I'm thinking. And then she's going to have permission to let go of her story and to not run her story. And you don't have to be reactive to it. Now, this is so important, right? Because every time we have a reactive reaction, what I mean by a reactive response means that you're triggered in some way, right? To anything. So let's say somebody backs out of a contract. If you go into sobbing or into a downward spiral about how money's not going to come in and nothing's going to work, you're not actually responding to the action, to the thing that actually happened in the external environment. You're responding to your own story about it. If your partner comes in and you told him to pick up the milk, but then he forgot the milk again, and you have an over-the-top reaction, either internally or externally, where you start to run this thing of you never do anything and you don't help me and you forget everything, and it's an over-the-top reaction. You're not actually responding to him not bringing home the milk, right? You're responding to the story about how nobody helps you and how nobody listens to you and how you have to do everything. So today in the money healing piece, right, there's a little bit of homework, there's a little bit of healing. I'm going to give you your homework first. The homework is I want you to be aware of the stories you're telling yourself, what you're actually responding to as you run your business, right, over the next few weeks. And see if you can start to get at what are your stories. I also want you to be aware of the stories that other people are running. If you notice that your partner seems to get over the top upset or comes in over the top stressed out and is sort of over responding to little things in the home or things that you're saying, what stories is he or she running? See if you can either help them recognize their story, which may or may not happen, or at the very least be compassionate to the fact that the story that they are running has nothing to do with you. Also exercise that compassion in your own business. As things happen in your business, try to separate what happens in your business from you, from your personal story. Understanding that if somebody backs out, it's about them, it's not about you. If somebody doesn't answer your call, it's about them being busy, it's not about you. And trying to extricate, right, your story about how it's about you from what actually happened. Now go ahead and take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. Close your eyes. And I'm just going to give you we're going to do a healing and clearing together to make this more possible. Would you like to know that it's possible for you to be compassionate and empathic when others are reactive to you? Would you like to know that it's possible for you to see what's actually happening in reality, no matter what happens in your business, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing? Would you like to know that you have the awareness to be able to feel something and be able to decipher what the story is around what you feel, or what the trigger is, or to be able to go back into your life to identify what you're actually feeling? Would you like to know that you have the capacity to breathe? And I don't just mean breathe in this moment. I mean breathe in a moment of reactiveness. To be able to not respond when something happens in your world or a person comes in and they're angry, to not be triggered by that, but instead to be able to have the breath come up so that you can take a minute or two to not be reactive to them and instead to be compassionate with them, to be understanding with them. And would you like to know, to be able to have the discernment to be able to read other stories, whether those be the stories and the triggers of your clients or the people that you love, so that you can help them to identify what are they really responding to and go deeper with everyone that you're associating with. And with that, we're going to download for all of you the ability to be able to decipher your own story, to decipher other stories, and to be able to breathe instead of react. I'm going to head up to Creator. and download all of that, remembering that if you're watching this video now or later in the future, either way, it's okay. And if there's anything that I said that you don't agree with or you don't want, you just have to think or say no, and you won't receive that. No big deal. Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And I want to honor you for being here, honor you for seeing your stories. And as always, my wish for you is to take this healing and this clearing and go out there and make tons of money and make this world a better place.